Han ignored them, because he would rather be ready than be unprepared and have to worry about any issues. Everything about this screamed wrong once things started to sink in. He remembered Ellie's word about how it was weird how no one was stopping them from coming here, but they put in efforts into stopping her mother from completing her project. It either meant that nothing was here or there was something here and they didn't need to worry about anyone investigating it. With each level that they passed and went deeper into the forbidding structure, he felt like something was off. He started to get annoyed with the adventurers about how cavalier they were being. This wasn't some school trip where everyone could just have fun. If shit hit the fan, then there was no one that could help them. They were here by themselves, with no backup. "Shut your mouths! I can't hear anything with your yapping. This isn't some kind of picnic," Sarah yelled at her teammates. All of them shut their mouths after Sarah rebuked them. Some of them looked annoyed by being yelled at, while others looked suitably chastised. There's no need to yell at them. This place is just a giant tomb with nothing inside of it. Even a tomb would have treasure, but there isn't even that inside of here. Ignore that freak and his lackeys for getting spooked so easily, Frank reasoned with Sarah, lightly patting her on her back. Instead of answering Frank, Sarah completely ignored him and tried to listen to her surroundings. Seeing how Sarah was treating him, Frank started to ground his teeth in annoyance. "Fine, act like some kind of kid that just got their first quest." He huffed and walked over to his teammates. Some of them were consoling him, telling him to ignore Sarah's attitude and it must be her time of the month. Han shook his head at how ridiculous they were. It was like watching some kids who were running around waving a wooden sword in the air and pretending they were knights. "Sarah, do you hear anything yet?" he asked her. She shook her head, indicating that there weren't any sounds. After some time had passed and they went down several more levels, looking into each room and seeing if there are any clues about what the structure was built for. With what they were able to find, it didn't make sense why the city would build such a large structure. The material could have been used to protect the city, instead of being used for some religious purpose. When it felt like the pyramid would keep going down forever, they finally reached a hallway that led to a giant door that seemed to be sealing something in. "This does not look ominous," Han sarcastically stated. The door had a giant star with snakes looking to intertwine throughout it. There were females with wings carved open on the door and gave off the feeling like they were protecting the world. Looking at Ellie, Han asked, "I guess you want to open the door that screams out, 'Do not open'?" Rolling her eyes at his remark, she studied the door and tried to figure out a way to open it up. There wasn't anything that looked like a handle or lock. It just looked like a solid wall that happened to be decorated. Han sat down on the floor while leaning up against the wall. He had one of his arms around Celestia's shoulders and enjoyed the moment. It didn't seem like Ellie was going to be able to open the door, and Han wasn't planning on helping her. The door seemed to scream out trouble, so keeping it closed was probably the safer bet. A part of him did wonder what the door was keeping locked up, but not enough to be helpful. Ellie had one of her servants grab her some books that the servant was carrying in her pack. They looked fairly ancient and was likely what led her to these ruins. She also found a spot to sit down and pored over the contents of her books. Han woke up from his peaceful slumber as Ellie was yelling about figuring it out. He could feel Celestia also beginning to wake up from Ellie's joyful shouting. "It all makes sense! The women are not only the guards but also the gatekeepers. They were clever with holding the solution in plain sight." She leaped about, looking like a kid on Christmas morning, tracing some kind of symbols on each of the women, then pressing the star hidden in the corner. With a loud rumbling noise, the door began to open slowly. Han slowly got up and helped Celestia up. Ellie quickly ran into the room not thinking about any danger. Her servants and guards began chasing after her. "I guess we're going inside," he muttered. There was no TV shows that ended well in these scenarios. This was the type of scene you saw at the show's season finale, where you wondered who died and if they were able to contain the evil that he released. Inside the mysterious room, it was the size of a football stadium. There was a walkway that went around the room, with stairways that led to the floor. He could see Ellie already running down the stairs, heading straight to the bottom of whatever this room was meant to be. In the center of the floor, there was a giant glowing orb that glowed red and black. "I am in a season finale." Han cursed his luck. The orb was practically screaming out, "I am trapping an evil entity that will destroy the world if it is released." It was so cliche that he wondered how this series was still getting funded. The princess, servants, guards, and adventurers were nearly to the bottom of the stairs. He watched as they reached the bottom and slowly walked up to the evil-looking globe. They stared at the thing as if it was not something horrible. All of them were chatting amongst themselves. "E, do you think we should stop them?" Celestia asked, looking a little worried. "Master, just give me the command and I will end them," Queen requested. "Let's see how this unfolds. I'm also curious about what this is all about," he murmured, his eyes locked on everyone in front of the orb. While the group in front of the orb was debating something, Han noticed one of the adventurers moving towards the orb with his hands reaching out for it. Seeing this, Han thought about yelling, "You must not read from the book!" As the adventurer placed his hands on the orb, there was a sudden pulse that came out of the orb. With each wave of energy, the chamber began to start shaking. Along the surface of the orb, there were cracks that were beginning to form. With a sudden crashing noise, the orb shattered and released a blinding light. Han turned away from the light and closed his eyes. When he looked back at where the orb was standing, there was a massive white dragon. "I am finally free!" the dragon roared. "Those rotten humans trapped me inside of that orb and thought they could contain my power. I need to hurry and let them know what these humans are planning." As if realizing something was off, the dragon looked down and saw everyone getting back to their feet after they were knocked back from the explosion. "What do we have here?" he asked in a bewildered tone. "We are here to find out more information about the overflow," Ellie yelled at the dragon. The adventurers looked terrified as they stood in front of the dragon. Each of them looked no bigger than the size of the dragon's foot. "Humans looking for information about the overflow?" he asked in a quiet voice. "Yes, we are trying to learn about the ancient city and why it was destroyed," she called out. Han watched the dragon and thought something was off. By the way the dragon was acting, this wasn't surprising him and seemed like he knew what Ellie was talking about. "All of you need to get ready. I suspect the dragon is not just going to let us walk away," he told everyone up there with him. "Oh yes, I think I can give you some information about the city, but I think it would be better if you were to ask them yourself," he yelled out and took a deep breath. The dragon blew out a massive jet of fire towards everyone in front of him. "I do not think so," Han said and lifted his hand and made a barrier appear to block the flames. The barrier was completely submerged by the flame, with the heat being so intense that the walls were beginning to melt.